afternoon and welcome to Mike and the Hoss on Wolfeboro Community Television. I'm Mike Danais.
And I'm Charlie Hossack.
Coach, where things are starting up.
They are.
We actually have things to talk about today.
We do, which is great.
We have so much to talk about that we're going to go international again, too.
Of course we are. I think we should. That should be our theme. We should always stay international.
Okay.
I think if we can get a little information here and there. So,
maybe we can have, with different languages at the bottom.
Oh my gosh, that would be cool. Timothy will be working on that. That'll be great.
Shout out to our sponsors, Morrissey's Porch and Pub,
Skelly's Market,
and Downtown Grill and Cafe. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Last week you had some students in the UAE.
Yes.
That have been watching the show. We did a little shout out to them, and we're going to do it again.
Yes.
And because there are sports in the UAE.
There are sports.
We don't usually see around here.
No, we don't.
And thought we'd take a couple of seconds and talk about that.
So just kind of give you an overview. Their number one sport, which would be considered a popular sport, would be soccer. They, of course, call it football.
Yes.
But soccer is very an important part of their country. Their soccer team, I guess it's been a long time since they made FIFA, but back in like 1990. But they still love soccer, play a lot of soccer. But here's a traditional sport in the United Arab Emirates, which is camel racing. And I think I had mentioned that maybe on a previous show. But interesting thing about camel racing, it obviously takes place in the desert, so they're running on sand, the camels. Now, the traditional is they have jockeys for the camels. So just like you would have horse racing, you'd have a jockey. They've also made the shift.
They sit between the humps.
Yeah. They also have made the shift now to actual robots, little robots that sit on the camel. And it's interesting because I watched a video. So you have the camels racing, and then on the side you have I guess you would say the owners or the jockeys that aren't on the camels driving in cars, shouting commands to their camels, and then the little robot thing actually has a whip that you can control, and it'll whip the camel to make it go faster.
Why?
So they were trying to.
Why would you do that instead of a human jockey?
Just because it would reduce the weight, and the camel could run faster.
Okay, so it's safer for the camel to have the robot whip.
I would think it'd be safer for the camel. But check this out, little camel facts information that I got.
Bring it on.
Camels can run. They can consistently run 25 miles per hour.
Okay.
Camels can actually sprint up to 40 miles per hour. Now, to put that in context, I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means other than me driving my car. But if you took a horse,
that's pretty fast.
It's pretty fast. A lot of camels could beat horses in races. If you had like your top horses, your top thoroughbreds, the horse would win, but it would be a close race. So that's kind of something to think about. Camel wins overall though, because camel could run that fast with a huge load on its back. Camels can
without water.
Yeah, without water. But camels can carry more weight than horses, which is why they're great for the desert. Not only because of the water thing, but because they're able to take lots of
Have you ever
materials.
Been on a camel?
I have. So I was on a camel at the Topsfield Fair, of all places in Massachusetts. You could go on when I was younger, and you could have a camel ride, and both of my children have done the same thing. Have you been?
I do not have camel.
Have you been on a
I
camel?
do not have camel experience.
No. And the other thing, let's talk one more thing about camels, is that camels get a bad rap, like of being nasty, and they're not. First of all, I find them adorable. I love their little faces, and they'll move their lips around. But camels
Can you do that
again? Camels can be affectionate and friendly. So it's not like they just get kind of stuck in the what is it? It's not the alpaca, it's the llamas.
That spit on
llama. Yeah, the llamas get a bad rap. Camels are.
Can you keep a camel for a pet?
Yeah, they keep a camel. You know that they have a camel for a pet here in Alton, New Hampshire. Roger the camel lives in Alton, New Hampshire. You've driven by it many times. Driven by him.
I think we need to have Roger the camel on the show.
Yeah, so Roger the
camels.
camel's dad is a physician here at Huggins Hospital. So yes, camels can live as pets, even in the great state of New Hampshire. So okay, there you go.
Do we have any more? Information on camels,
no more information on camels. But I figured each week I could bring a little something from the UAE to talk about because I had such a great experience with those guys from the UAE, and I'm hoping at some point, I know you guys are watching the show now, just give me a shout out, and we'd love to have you on this program so you can actually talk about your country and talk about your sports.
I feel enlightened. I'm looking forward to hearing about other things, besides the camels.
Yeah, we're going to move on. We're going to try to cover a little something. There are more traditional sports that we'll cover.
Sounds good. All right. Let's bring it back to New Hampshire.
Okay.
The NHIAA has moved in certainly a positive direction as far as having sports. They've come out with a statement. This is, we intend to have fall sports.
Yes.
But it's obviously going to be up to the districts.
Yeah.
If the districts want to follow through with that, we know here, as of Tuesday, today's Tuesday, we're probably going to come out on Friday.
Right.
A decision has not been made on what the school is going to look like.
No.
The fields have been opened, which is what our baseball team is going to start practicing. So that's a positive move.
That is a positive move. And some of the, as we talked before, some of our fall sports teams are out there getting in some workouts.
Yeah.
So.
And I come back to the question: do you think that schools, not just Governor Wentworth, but other schools in the state, if they decide that it's not safe to be in the classroom in a closed area, could they say, well, but out, maybe we could still do sports because it's outside and it's a little bit more controlled?
I think yes. I mean, I think what is that you say, comparing apples to oranges? I mean, if you're inside of a school building in a classroom close together, that's completely different on a football field or a soccer field or a field hockey field or cross country running.
I had read that there's a 20 times less chance of spread outside than there is inside.
Yeah, and I think, and we've seen this. We've seen this with our teams. If you have proper social distancing and you're wearing your mask and you're wearing, using hand sanitizer and you're, disinfecting whatever equipment need be, and the kids are separated, I think they can have sports, and they're proving it already that it's been successful.
We have our baseball teams going, and we've talked about that. That at first it seemed daunting, all the guidelines, but when you start playing, you realize it's not that big of a deal. Right. My son was at a hockey tournament this weekend, and again, pages and pages of guidelines that came through.
Sure.
They, wearing masks into the facilities. The fans were supposed to be wearing masks, but it was hockey. It was just regular hockey.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of anybody getting, in fact, anybody getting sick from there.
Right.
Now, New Hampshire is in a better place than a lot of other places, but there's teams from other states that came to
traveled
this.
through. Yeah.
But it was hockey. You followed the guidelines; they were able to play, and I think that's what it comes down to: is that the kids and the coaches and the staff need to realize that these guidelines are in place not only to keep you safe, but to allow you to play,
right,
and to keep playing. And so it just has to happen. Went to a restaurant, the Town Docks up in Meredith on Sunday, and they had a sign that we social distance so we can coexist, or something like that.
Yeah.
But they're saying that these guidelines are in place so that we can still be open.
Right.
And if you follow the guidelines, we'll still be open. If you follow the guidelines, you can eat here.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot more masks in town.
Yeah.
And signs on stores that you are not allowed to go into these stores without
some
masks.
of the bigger stores, Walmart, Target, things like that.
But even locally, Harvest Market in town.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great thing because there is some real, legitimate scientific data that says masks reduce the spread, and that if the whole country would wear masks for a couple weeks, that there would be a big difference in the amount that are out there. So I think if everybody's on the same page, we can get things going.
I think so too. And one of the things that I didn't have a chance to comment with the NHIAA releasing their information, it was kind of similar to what Governor Sununu had done, is just giving it back to local control, and I appreciate that because our district is different than other districts. So I feel that it's important that the local, school boards make that decision. And then the other thing, I had kind of a brief conversation about this with an athletic director, and just saying that, hey, you know what, if a team is not in school and is not going to participate, then you just kind of cancel that game. Or if there's a flare-up or a concern, you just cancel that game and you kind of move on. So it seems to be there's going to be some flexibility in the thinking, because there has to be, as to how you're going to have a season. And if the season has to be cut short, it has to be cut short. But we're going to try everything we can to to have a season.
The decision makers have a lot of pressure on them, especially at the local level.
Yeah.
Obviously their number one thing is to keep everybody safe.
Mm-hmm.
Try and have education, and try and provide enrichment through athletics.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting if, for instance, let's say Alton has athletics,
Yeah.
but Governor Wentworth doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a lot of political pressure on these decision makers.
Definitely.
And they're going to get, especially kids that are into their senior years and it's their last shot, their last soccer season, last football season, or whatnot.
Sure.
There's going to be a lot of pressure on them, and I'm glad that I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
I really feel for them, that they have a lot of things to think about. So, some sports have actually started. Major League Baseball officially kicked off last Thursday.
Yep.
Everything was going well.
Oh man! First off, let's start. I was just so excited that the season started, and now I'm not. And it's more personal.
Well, we'll get to the Red Sox misery in a second.
Okay.
But in general, things got going. Big time ratings for television. For everybody wanted to catch baseball.
Yeah.
It was nice, fun. It was therapeutic to watch some baseball. Each team is doing a little different thing with whether it's the cutouts or the sound, the noise, and stuff like that. It sounds like a regular baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
The players are certainly into it. Then we hit Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
And the Florida Marlins came out that 11 out of their 33 players, or is it yesterday? Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
11
Sunday,
out of their
Monday.
33 players are infected. And they had to cancel. Not only did they cancel the Marlins series that was coming up with the Yankees, I believe it was, but the Marlins had played the Phillies, I believe, over the weekend.
Right.
And so the Phillies had to cancel their games.
Yeah.
And so now you have 4 teams that have canceled their games. I don't know how you're going to make those up.
Right.
If you're going to make them up, because you only have a 60-game season as it is. You don't have a big window as far as games go.
Right. Yeah. There's only so many double headers you can play.
They're in trouble, and I think that, and we're going to get to this other thing I had put on the the highlights, but there was no bubble for Major League Baseball.
No, still isn't.
And there isn't, and I think it's going to be the downfall, because these players are playing their games and everything like that, and they're practicing all their social distancing and wearing masks and stuff like that, and then they leave the ballpark, and they go to South Beach, or they go to the bar, or they go to a family gathering or whatnot. And they bring that back into the facility.
Right.
And there's the problem.
Yeah.
We mocked, you and I, not mocked, but we had some fun with the bubble for a few months, actually, while it was happening. But we're starting to see that the bubble might be the key to success.
Yeah, I think it's the only way that you're going to have a successful professional sports season. I mean, I think with baseball, do you think, is this the beginning of the end?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Without a bubble, I don't think there's any way they can make this thing happen. And I'm going to say the over and I'm going to put it as mid-August.
Yeah.
Because other teams are going to get infected. And unless there really becomes some leadership at the MLB levels saying that if you are caught doing risky behavior, you are being fined however, or you're kicked out or whatever. With no warnings or anything.
Right.
And we're going to, other sports are doing that, and we'll talk about some of those in a second, but I think that's the only shot. They're just, Major League Baseball is flying from city to city. They're bringing all of that infection, for lack of a better word, from city to city into hotels and so on. And the more contact you have with other people, the better chance you have of infecting.
Of course.
And if you bring it into a close-knit facility like the Marlins did, I'm sure it was just one person, got a little loose, caught it, brought it in.
Brought it to everyone.
And look how quickly that spread.
Yep, absolutely.
That's the problem with this disease, is that it spreads really easily.
Right.
And we're seeing that 11 out of 33. That's crazy.
Yeah. Obviously it's almost half the team, but I think I think you're correct, and I think this is the beginning of the end for baseball. I think it might be even too late now to get into some type of major league bubble, because even when they travel from city to city, there's guys going off independently doing things. Just looking at the Red Sox, they all arrived. Some arrived on electric scooters, some walked in, some drove in. So one guy was holding his Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Like, they've been, it's not like other sports teams.
No. Speaking of our Red Sox, I don't think the season could end quick enough for them.
No, I'm hoping by the time of this show ends, the season is over for the Red Sox.
Dave Dombrowski left a dumpster fire. I'm not blaming this on Hyde Bloom yet.
No.
I think that he is trying to bridge seasons at this point, not spend a lot of money, so he has money to spend next year, which he would. They're bad, and their pitching staff is horrible.
Yeah. I mean, when we say bad, I think we really should be addressing the pitching. I mean, I don't think, there are certain players there that are phenomenal players, but I think it's the pitching.
Well, I think the team in general. I think that I do think the team in general is not very good, and I'll even go to the manager. Why does Xander Bogaerts, after having a year and a half off or whatever it was, and being in the bubble, your best player gets the day off.
Needs the rest after one game.
Yeah. And to me, that I lost all respect for the manager, Ron Renicky, right?
Yeah.
Because now he's overthinking it. He's overmanaging. And I'm sorry, there's a 60-game season.
Yeah.
Every single one of your starters plays all 60 games
Exactly.
and make a run.
Yeah, there's no
Day
need for a day off. I know.
I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah. And I was waiting to find out, to hear things like, was Bogaerts sick? Was he injured? Nothing.
Nothing.
It was just a day off.
It was a day off.
Yeah.
Scheduled.
Yeah.
Scheduled maintenance day. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm so done with them. And then the pitching staff, Evaldi pitched well, on the opening day. They scored 13 runs. Everybody's all excited.
Yeah.
JD Martinez is tweeting things like, this lineup's going to be scary. And they proceed to, basically get goose-egged over the next 3 days.
Yeah. I mean, if you're losing 2 out of 3 to the AAA Baltimore Orioles.
And then the AAA New York Mets.
Yes. Good point.
They've let up 7 runs. You don't know these names at all, besides maybe a couple of the relievers. They're bringing in guys that you have never heard of for a reason that you have never heard of them because nobody wanted them.
Right.
I'm not going to lose any sleep if I would like to see baseball stick around.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
But I'm not. That Red Sox team is horrible, and
I'm still.
And here's the other part: they're getting away with it because they can't get booed.
That's
Did you know that they can't get booed?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, they can't.
I highly doubt that the guy that's in charge of the PA is going to hit the boo button on the Red Sox.
How funny would that be?
I would be awesome. To give them a raise, but
and I sit here. I'm still going to watch the Red Sox. I'm still going to root for the Red Sox, but my expectations are very low.
Did you catch the? There was a confrontation between the manager and the umpire.
I did.
And they're strapping on. They're putting their masks on, and they're putting their mask on, and they're measuring 6 feet away, and then they're starting. It was not the same. And the umpires were pulling his mask out of his pocket.
Thing and putting it on his ears.
You want a piece of me, and I'm going to put my mask on first.
Yeah, I think once it gets to that point, don't argue. It's just not. It's not.
It didn't make any sense whatsoever having that argument.
It was terrible.
So. Anyway, all right, moving on. NBA does have a bubble.
They do.
We mocked it at first, but they seem to, and their bubble's pretty strict, as you mentioned. Lou Williams, who plays for the Clippers, got excused to go to a funeral.
Right.
And which is good. They have some reasons that people can leave the bubble:
Yeah.
family emergencies, funerals, and so on.
Of course.
And so he went to the funeral, but then decided to have breakfast at a gentleman's club.
Yeah.
And somebody took a picture of him. Or lunch or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so he got back to the bubble. The pictures get, that are out there. And the NBA says, you're quarantined 10 days.
Yeah.
Or you can go home and be done.
Yeah.
And 10 days, he's going to miss games because they're going to be starting.
They're starting up, yeah.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that the NBA has those rules in order to get the season in.
Yep. He'll spend 10 days in his room and it's good. I mean, it's. I think the NBA, the way the NBA has handled this, with obviously the help with Disney, has been amazing. I mean, they keep the players there. Everybody's fed, taken care of. They testing for COVID at all times, and I think they're going to have a successful season.
I do too. And their court. Have you seen the NBA courts?
Yep.
They have this. It's kind of like playing in a gym. It almost looks like a video game.
Almost
in a way,
yeah.
But they've really thought about it, and a lot of advertising to make up for some of the revenue.
Yeah.
The NBA is going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily a big NBA fan, but I think they're going to be fine. I think that they really thought about this. They went to the bubble plan very early.
Yeah.
I mean, they were talking bubble in Florida back in May when we were talking about it back in May.
Yep.
And we were wondering why they were waiting until July 31st or whatever it was before they get started.
Yeah.
But now we know why, because they were putting a lot
They
of
wanted
things
to put
in
everything
place.
in place. Yeah, exactly. And think about it, how if you look back at Major League Baseball, they had talked about kind of creating a bubble. They talked about it, whether it was going to be at Arizona or whatever, and having multiple games at their spring training sites. And it's a shame that they didn't do that. And kind of figured that out, because even though we were making fun of that, like how could this work? It's certainly working for the NBA.
Little Kyrie Irving news I thought I'd share. He's donated $1.5 million to anybody who opts out in the WNBA or the NBA.
Yeah.
Whether you opt out for COVID or whether you opt out for social injustice movement or something like that, because he's not playing, he doesn't want anybody else to play.
Right. Yeah. He's going to pay everyone not to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a jerk.
It's all about Kyrie.
He's just a
all
jerk.
about Kyrie.
I don't know how he's a jerk. All right, that was our Kyrie moment.
Yeah.
NHL, they're up in Canada now. They went up to Canada this weekend, and no positive cases
Right.
in NHL players, not a one.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going up into Canada, being clean, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
to a country that is really on top of it.
Yeah.
They're going into bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
Big fines if you break the bubble,
Right.
if you break their protocols.
Yeah.
We saw with the Bruins that David Pastrnak and one of the other players wasn't allowed to practice because they did a few, they exposed themselves. They weren't sick,
Yeah.
but they exposed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the team was really disappointed in them, and they had to get their 3 positive tests back before they could practice.
Yeah.
They weren't allowed to be around the team. They didn't mess around. The Bruins, and Pasternak's their best player.
Yeah.
But they did not mess around. They actually kind of dumped on him a little bit.
They did.
But now he's in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to travel with the team. I think the NHL has a good chance of making this thing happen.
I agree. I mean, I think we're going to be watching hockey and basketball, and maybe nothing else.
And then that brings us to football.
Yes.
There is no bubble. They are reporting to camp. It's like the testing phase. Everybody's reporting and getting tested and so on. And
you have until this Saturday to opt out.
Yep.
So August 1st.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's affecting the Patriots. We're going to talk about some of those guys in a second. There's no preseason.
Mm-hmm.
You do get fined if you have some risky behavior.
Yeah.
But
what I mean, Mike, fines to these players they're so insignificant.
Well, I think some of them
Yeah.
are, a $750,000 fine. I think they're talking about at the NHL level. Is pretty significant for a, rookie.
For of course,
something like
of
that.
course.
Even at the NFL for a rookie.
But I was thinking more of the star players that are going to be like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, type of thing. Talking football.
Yeah,
So,
and you're not going to be able to control that. But you also hope that the veterans, say, geez, I only have a couple more years to play football.
yeah.
It's the young guys that I'm worried about that are going out there and partying and being irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe they need to, buckle down a little bit.
Yeah, kind of rein them in.
And respect what's going on. Just like we say, we use the masks not for your protection, but for everybody else's protection.
Yeah.
And the same thing here. Follow the rules not for your protection, but for my protection and my livelihood.
Yeah.
I don't think the NFL season's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a couple of reasons. We're starting to see players opt out. The Patriots have lost Marcus Cannon, and this morning lost Dante Hightower.
Yeah.
Those are,
Those are big names.
irreplaceable.
Quality players.
I mean, you can replace them, but you're
Yeah.
not going to replace their talent.
Yeah.
And especially the fact that the Patriots lost Jamie Collins, Kyle Van Noy in the linebackers.
Yeah.
So you lost
So
all of your
you don't
linebackers.
you don't have any depth in linebackers. You got two guys that have limited experience behind Hightower. Plus, Bolden's out too.
So he opted out?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Brandon Bolden.
So you're basically going to be, you're starting to get into what's going to look like a double-A kind of football team. And I'm sure the other teams are dealing with the same thing. It can't be just the Patriots. I think that these guys are going to opt out. There's going to start getting some positive tests.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't think we make it to games. I would even say that, we barely make it to the beginning of training camp.
Yeah.
I think it's bad news. I think they're going to find that the bubble was the way to go.
I agree, and especially with the NFL, I just feel like if the players, it's really difficult kind of control. I hate to use the word control, but to control some of these players, and they're going to do whatever they want, whenever they want. And the fact that, for example, Lou Williams with the NBA decided to do what he wanted, had permission for a legitimate reason, and then took advantage of the situation. So,
and you're just not going to be able to control these guys. They're concerned for their social status.
Yeah.
Is going to outweigh their responsibility.
Right.
And a 23-year-old with money coming out of his pockets, who's got the world by the whats, and he's going to go out there and say, I'm not staying in my room when I got I can go to the Palm or something like that, and with a whole bunch of, and I'd be the center of attention.
Yeah. Bring all my buddies
and my posse and do.
You got a posse?
I wish I had a posse. Life goal is to have a posse.
There you go. The problem is, I think part of your posse, I might be in it. I don't know if that's a life goal. So.
All right. Other sports, Mike Tyson's coming back.
Oh my gosh. I would love to be in
Absolutely.
as shape that he is in.
Absolutely.
Oh my
He looks
goodness.
like he's ready to go in that picture right there.
Oh, and I don't know if you've been watching. They've been showing some of his past fights.
I always watch his past fights.
I love watching them.
I watch the Trevor Berbick fight all the time. That's when he won the title. Or
Yeah.
one of the fights he won the title. And
Oh man.
just Trevor Berbick wanted absolutely no part of Mike Tyson in the ring that day.
No.
He was like, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I don't.
no interest.
Hit me so I could be done.
Yeah.
And so he's fighting Roy Jones Jr., I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Junior.
It was another, semi-retired, I guess. Is it for real? Is Mike Tyson coming back for real?
For the senior circuit, but still, I look. I mean, I know there's
what a great idea, a senior circuit for boxing.
for boxing.
That would be awesome. They'd
But
all be wearing diapers and just, just let him have it.
But Mike Tyson looks like he could fight a 20-year-old. He is,
he would beat you up.
I mean, he is in shape. This guy he's quite an athlete.
Tyson was late 80s through the 90s. Basically,
yeah.
and it was must watch. I remember going to a bar and just waiting until 11:30.
Doing the pay-per-view.
And waiting for his fight that lasted usually 13 seconds.
Yeah.
And but it was enjoyable because he was so, he's not a overly big guy, but the power that he packed.
Just so strong. But yeah, you mentioned that because I remember, you get together with your buddies, and I remember, like $20, I give them $20 pay-per-view, and it'd be like 8 of us or whatever, and like you're right, like a minute later, you're like, oh, that was the best $20 I've ever spent. But he was just so dominant.
But he was all busy. The other guys would come in with these robes and this bling.
Yeah.
And he used to cut a hole in a white towel and put it on his, just on there, and just kind of like a sleeveless shirt.
Yeah.
And that's how he came out. No songs, no nothing.
No, I know everyone else. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
He was so intimidating. I mean, I hope it would be interesting to watch him fight. It would be kind of a good story. The top guys in boxing now are so big.
They are.
They're so big. They're like 6'6", 6'7", weigh 280. The heavyweight class.
They're all muscle.
Yeah. So I just don't see it.
I don't know, but it'll be fun to see. We're definitely going to keep Mike Tyson on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, talking about him.
Recurring thing. Other piece of news.
Oh, you had to put this in here because you
did.
You are
Nostradamus.
You are Nostradamus, Mike Danais.
So last
Mike
week
Danais the Prophet.
We were talking about the Washington football team.
Yeah.
And Charlie said to me, well, you can call them the Washington Redskins. They're not the Washington football team, but they are the Washington football team. It came out.
Yep, it came out as the Washington football team because they haven't agreed upon a new name for the Washington football team.
So we're going to refer to them as the Washington
football team
through the non-NFL season.
The WFT, the Washington football team. So.
They haven't come out with any kind of signs or whatever, mascots. What do you call it? Labels?
Logos.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What could you do for the? It could be a picture like the Capitol. I don't know.
I don't know, but it's the Washington football team.
The White House. That's what
I like it. That is about as neutral as you could possibly get.
I mean, that's the epitome of vanilla. That's what that is. That's just like.
Is that going to offend anybody? I don't think.
I mean, the answer is yes, because everyone has to be offended by something. but that's a real reach here to be offended by the Washington football team.
If you're offended by the Washington football team, then you have got issues.
Yes, you do.
Look in the mirror.
Oh.
All right. Last week we played a game where we were guessing some logos of different teams, and we kind of gave it to Allie at the last minute.
Yeah.
And she did a great job putting it together.
Oh, yeah.
But this time she has a little more time, and she's gone, I believe, with college sports logos, which I'm going to be pretty bad at.
Yeah. Me too.
And so
Me too.
guess the college team.
Yeah.
And she had some time to put this one together.
That's awesome. I do want to say, I thought Allie even last week did a great job. But one of the things that Allie was able to determine for me is that my vision is going, because I couldn't read the Alaska Aces, even though you could.
I could.
Yeah. So
I'm younger though.
Yeah. You're not younger. So.
All right, Allie, we're ready to go.
Okay. Am I go first?
Sure.
All right. That's going to be the University of Virginia, the Cavaliers, Virginia.
I'm going to agree with that. I had the Virginia. I wasn't sure about the Cavaliers, but I'm going to go with the Cavaliers.
All right, you get the next one. Oh, come on. I love it.
I'm going to go with... Ooh, is that the Kentucky or Kansas? I'm going to go with the Kansas Jayhawks.
So will I. Nice job, Mike. Well done.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with the University of Kentucky. A shout out to B Rule 10, Burke Rule, who plays hockey for them.
Oh, I'm going to go with the University of Kentucky also.
Oh.
But what Wildcats, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you
We
mean
got to have
everybody's-
that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I mean, we only get half credit if you don't go
All
with
right,
that.
half credit. Oh, like this one.
I'm going to go with the Florida Gators.
Yes, the Florida Gators, where Gatorade was invented.
That's right.
Yep.
Oh, you're up.
Oh, chicken wings on this one. Holy cow.
I think I got this.
Do you?
I think. I'm not positive, though.
I don't know. I don't know this. I'm going to go with Southern Methodist University.
It doesn't look like much of one because it looks like a horse, but I want to say Penn State, the Nittany Lions.
Oh, all right. What is it? Ooh, she got us. You think that looks like
Mercy College?
I don't know.
All right, I'm going to go with the Michigan Wolverines.
I will go with TB12's alma mater, Michigan Wolverines. I think this one is, I don't know. I'll go with this one as Penn State.
I'm going to say UNH Wildcats.
Oh, that's UNH. Yeah, I guess you're right. Oh, good! Look at that! Ding, ding, ding. Try to trick him into it. Oh. All right, there you go. There's a good one for you. That's pretty. I like that. You're up, right?
I am up.
Oh.
I'm going to say something
making sure.
Falcons.
I don't know if you were napping.
Something Falcons. I'm gonna
It does look like a falcon. Yeah.
Say, or the Hawks.
A bird of prey.
A bird.
It is.
I'm gonna say the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Iowa Hawkeye. All right, I'm gonna keep it local. I'm gonna go with Franklin Pierce. Who is it? Van Horn Falcons. Very cool.
This is Ohio State University, I think.
I'm gonna go with Oklahoma.
I'm in between. I think you might be right. Jeez. Down 2. Come on, Allie.
Holy chickens. What is this one? You got writing on this, so now Mike can see it. I do say that I know it says football. I can see that. Man, look at that. Have you seen this before?
No.
I've never seen this. See if we can figure this out. I know the Calgary Flames are hockey, but it looks like it's a sea with flames on top. It is, I don't know, Cincinnati football.
Oh, that's pretty good. I'm going to say... Cal State. Football.
Cal State. Oh! Dang.
You only get half credit because you
Well,
have the
half.
Bearcats.
Half credit's fine.
That's it.
Oh.
I don't have a chance to come back.
Who's walking away the winner? Wow. You can't come back.
I think you guys talked beforehand.
Not at all. That's great.
All right.
We got to keep these games rolling. Apparently, I'm pretty good at this.
I think I won last week.
I think so.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. So next week we're going to probably talk about the end of MLB,
Oh boy. Yeah, probably.
the possible end of NFL, and how well the NBA and the NHL are doing because
They're in the bubble.
In the bubble,
In
and
the
they
bubble.
took those proactive. We're going to have maybe another UAE update.
Yeah.
For some educational purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And
And we might. I think we might have a guest call in, which will be exciting.
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'll be fun.
Thank you for watching. Shout out to our sponsors, Morrison's Fortune Pub
Skelly's Market.
and Downtown Grill and Cafe. Have a good week.
Go Knights.
Go Knights.